Secretary Tulfo and the rest of the team. Just a few questions, comments, observations. Um, I do want to focus on domestic administrative adoption, no, our new law, but Secretary, I will actually meet with Executive Director Janela Estrada later on, so I won't use the whole time of the committee asking my questions on this. Maybe just to put on record a few things later on. But let me go quickly to disaster response. Um, our law on children's emergency relief protection, it's a law that I sponsored a few years ago. I'm sure you know, prohibits the use of schools as a evacuation center unless it is absolutely necessary because there's no other facility and limited for a 15-day period. DepEd has also issued has an issuance supporting this. Mr. Secretary, would you have a database on the areas that I guess you can start with calamity prone areas that don't have facilities other than the school so that you can prioritize the building of evacuation centers for these areas? May ganun na ba tayo para makaiwas? Because this is directly aligned with our desire that the kids are all back in face-to-face school. So, importante talagang ma-address natin to because we will always have calamities, natural disasters, and they will always end up using our schools even though we don't want them to if we don't have other facilities.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, I definitely agree with you. Kasi since time immemorial, the Philippines has been using school facilities, buildings as evacuation center, rehabilitation centers immediately after each calamity. My suggestion with the President, Your Honor, a couple of weeks ago, to build an evacuation center in every a permanent evacuation center in every city, in every municipality, so that during calamities and after immediately after calamities, education of the children will not be disrupted because the problem is tapos na po yung bagyo, 1 week na nandoon pa po yung mga evacuees kasi sira pa po yung mga bahay nila, Your Honor. So ang suggestion ko po sa Pangulo ay gumawa po that this administration will start yung mga evacuation centers po. Kung hindi po kakayanin lahat ng munisipyo, lahat ng bayan, unahin na po muna bawat probinsya and then bawat cities and municipalities, Madam Chair, Your Honor. That was my suggestion to this administration, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear that kasama yan sa priority recommendations niyo, Mr. Secretary. If I may just add, the reality of our budget implementation is that hindi naman din na-implement lahat yan agad-agad. No? There are constraints in the utilization of the budget, in the construction. So may I ask you to prioritize? Kayo na magbigay ng listahan kung saan talaga yung areas na dinadagsa, no, paulit-ulit na yan ang high percentage na tinatamaan. So that we can prioritize. Can we do that, Mr. Secretary, para pagdating ng budget on the floor, mapakita niyo sa atin yung prioritized area?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, we have started doing so. As a matter of fact, I had meetings already with several LGUs. Unahin ko na po dun sa Palawan. I was talking to the Palawan Governor at willing po sila ng isang facility po nila sa likod po ng Kapitolyo na itagamit po aside from ito po yung kanilang warehouse, ay doon po sa taas, sa second floor po, ay pwede pong gamiting evacuation center. And then meron rin po silang mga ilang bayan po sa Palawan na ginawa po nilang evacuation center talagang purposely built for evacuation po pag calamities. And we will be talking to other LGUs po within the next few weeks para i-coordinate. Willing naman po silang tumulong, Madam Chair and Your Honor, na magtayo. And they agree with me na kailangan talagang mayroong evacuation center ang mga LGUs kasi nahahamper po yung education ng mga bata dahil ginagamit po yung eskwelahan. So, kahit 1 week or 2 weeks na po, may mga areas pa po tayo ngayon na Madam Chair, Your Honor, na wala na po si Carding, nandun po sa eskwelahan po yung mga bata, kaya yung mga tao, kaya hindi pa po nakakapasok sa classroom at nagagamit ng mga bata yung kanilang eskwelahan, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you no for the anecdotal uh, um, stories on your conversations with the LGUs. Tama, maganda yan, and I appreciate your efforts. Yun nga, but as I said, by the time that we have our budget, baka you can give us a list. Kasi we really want to see all those prioritizations. I know a lot of them will require discussions with the LGUs. So at least makita natin yung prioritization para kung wala pa yan sa budget ninyo, makatulong din tayong lahat because it's really important that we get it done. Okay? Let me move on to our next topic. Mr. Secretary, I'm sure you've also been made aware by now that we have a shortage of social worker. Have you made coordinations with CHED, particularly with CHED on the schools, the supply side, no, on having the enough programs to come up with graduates of social work to be able to fill this very important position.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, are you asking ma'am that kung may shortage po kami ng social worker? Am I correct, Your Honor?
Well, actually, I already stated it. I said merong shortage, and are you? I said I assume that your honor is aware that merong shortage kasi meron ho talagang shortage. Our social workers po are in demand all over the world. So pagkatapos natin mag-training, magpag-graduate yung social worker, there are very lucrative opportunities for them in other countries, just like our nurses. Siguro mas popular ang problem natin with our nurses going abroad. Ganun din ang problem natin sa social workers. So I was asking, I actually didn't even ask. I said, I assume that the secretary knows that there is a shortage and what is being done about this shortage.
I will look into that, Madam Chair, Your Honor, to your question, Your Honor, regarding the shortage. Pero for now, I am not aware that we do have a shortage of social workers. But this is my plan, Your Honor, Madam Chair. In within the next few years or months, if we will have recruitment or job openings, I will definitely be looking for social workers, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Kasi po, DSWD is about social work. So, just like the DPWH, lahat po ng mga tao na doon po ay mga engineers, di po ba? So, might as well, dapat ang DSWD po ay punong-puno po ng mga social worker. Dapat dyan po talaga ang kailangan po namin. Pertaining naman po doon po sa mga studies, meron po kaming program with the Miriam College po para sa advancement of studies ng mga social workers po namin. Meron po kaming actually 50 na kagagraduate lang na nagtapos po ng masteral sa social work. Of course, sa tulong din po yung ng Miriam College at ng coordination po ng UNICEF and ng DSWD, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Yes, Senator Pia, sorry, nakamute po.
Madam Chairperson, I just want to express no na gugulat naman ako dun sa staff nyo, Mr. Secretary, kasi I recognize that you just assumed office. Wala namang problema yon. Pero nagugulat po ako na hindi nakarating sa inyo, hindi nagparating sa inyo ang staff nyo na napakalaking problema natin ng shortage ng social workers. That's why I phrased my question, I phrased my statement by I assume that the Secretary already knows. So kindly ask your USECs, your directors to brief you, sir. Kasi hindi naman fair sa inyo, nakakapasok nyo lang, and the work that has to be done, and many of which are required to be done by social workers, hindi magagampanan kasi kulang nga po ang social workers. So, mabigat muna issue to. Maybe, Madam Chair, I can ask even a 1-minute break for the Secretary to talk to his staff. Kasi I'm so shocked because itong bagong batas natin, as I mentioned, yung domestic administrative adoption, palang, wala pa dyan yung iba. Required ang social workers dyan. And that's why I even said, my question is if the team was listening carefully, was not even open-ended na what do you intend to do. I even specifically said, have you talked to CHED? about the supply of social workers. Ako na nga ho nagbibigay nung opening kasi kahit naman maglagay ho kayo ng maraming positions open for social worker, kung hindi naman tayo, we don't have enough colleges offering that position is not enticing to them, wala namang mag-e-enroll at hindi rin kayo makakahanap ng mag-fill ng position. So may I just ask Madam Chair for a minute suspension so that the Secretary can talk to his team about this. This is so important. So I feel bad na the proper information has not reached the Secretary.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, yes, ma'am, we will talk to the Commission on Higher Education para there will be more schools offering courses po nationwide para po dito sa Bachelor of Science in Social Work, ma'am. Para we will be producing or these schools will be producing more social workers para po makaika nga na matugunan yung pangangailangan po ng agencies. Some figures, ma'am, I don't know if that is still important, but of the 29,694 personnel that we have, Madam Chair, Your Honor, 6,747, 22.72% are registered social workers po, with 5,742 or 85.10% are female, while 1,005 or 14.90% are male. Yan po yung mga social workers po namin sa DSWD. Another thing, Madam Chair, Your Honor, I noticed meron po kami mga openings for social workers, Your Honor. Unfortunately, hindi po kinakagat kasi medyo mababa po yung offer ng salary po ng DSWD compared po sa mga private entities or organizations, foundations. So mas kinakagat po yan. I'll set you an example, Madam Chair, Your Honor. May dalawa pong nag-apply ho na kakilala po ng actually ng nani ng anak ko. And so nag-apply ho sila and I asked them, they went to the process interview. Nung tinanong na ho nila yung sa HR namin kung magkano sweldo, umatraso. Ang sabi, ay, malaki ho yung sweldo namin din sa kabila pala. Sorry na lang, pakisabi kay Secretary because mas mataas po ng 10,000 yung isa, yung starting po yata. Yung isa naman nasa 20,000 na compared po doon sa salary ng social worker po ng DSWD. Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Senator Pia,
Madam,
ay, there
yes,
we
I'm
go.
here. I'm here. Madam Chair, I'm happy not to hear that the Secretary knows about the salary discrepancy. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So I don't know if this information was just fed to His Honor now because kasama nga yan sa shortage. Kaya nga tayo may shortage. One of the reasons is that just like in the nurses, medyo iba yung situation kasi mas mataas ang sweldo ng nurse sa government office. So my question to His Honor would be, if this just was brought to your attention today, now, in this hearing, then obviously hindi pa natin yan ma-address, diba? So that's the purpose of these hearings, that we can bring to your attention, but also point out to your staff, because it's their job to bring it to your attention, Mr. Secretary, na ito yung mga problema na dinatdan mo na lang, diba? I'm not putting that on you, I'm putting it on your staff, that they should have brought it to your attention para nga we can find solutions. Because for example, ngayon sa DOH, ang isa sa mga proposals ni Acting Secretary Vergere is to amend the Magna Carta of Health Workers so that magpantay-pantay ang sweldo ng nurses, both public and private. In the case of nurses, mataas naman ang sweldo sa public. So reverse ang sa inyo. Pero kung hindi kayo aware dun sa problem, hindi naman nyo mauumpisahan yung solusyon, di ba? Kasi hindi naman nagsasabi ang staff nyo na it's a big problem. So not only are the private agencies poaching or sa una pa lang nakukuha na nila yung mga fresh graduate dahil mas mataas ang pasahod nila, they are also in demand abroad, Your Honors. In demand. Magagaling ang mga Pilipino, no? Let's put it that way. Masanay na tayo na they will be in demand and we have to come up with creative solutions on how we can address this. Yung situation nyo po sa social workers, ang kapantay naman na ang similar na problem dyan, for your information, are guidance counselors. in the school systems. Hindi rin nila ma-fill ang guidance counselor positions because ganyan din, napakababa ng entry level. With the social worker, may I ask you to submit later on kasi nga I will have a meeting with ED Janela Estrada. So maybe isama nyo na rin yung in charge na kakausap sa akin tungkol dun sa growth career path ng mga social workers. Is that an issue also? Because yun nga, kung dead end din ang career path nila dito sa atin, it's another reason that they won't go into it. Or they will just use it as a stepping stone to leave the country, which is the right, but hindi naman nakakatulong sa atin. Do I make my position clear, Mr. Secretary?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, idadagdag ko lang po, right now, sa plantilla po namin ay meron po 693 social workers are needed. And then, our field lamang po, Your Honor, is nasa 638. So may kakulangan po kami na 55. Naka-open naman po ito pero wala pong takers dahil medyo mababa po yung salary nga, Madam Chair. Tama po kayo, Your Honor, na wala pong kumakagat. I think we need to adjust po dito sa salary po ng mga social workers para kagatin po yung offer po ng DSWD. Another thing, Your Honor, I'm glad to inform Your Honor and Madam Chair na patapos na po yung Magna Carta po namin for social worker kasi wala po siyang social worker, Madam Chair, ever since. So ngayon lang po ito, we started like around July at tinatapos na po ng TWG po namin itong Magna Carta for social worker, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir, for that. No, so I will expect some updates before the plenary. No, obviously, you have my full support on this issue. Now that it has been brought to your attention, may I ask you to ensure that your staff works on it so that prior to the plenary debates, I have the information.
I'm sure, Your Honor, we will be ready by then, ma'am.
Thank you. Senator Pia, any further questions?
Yes, I still have a few questions. Um, this one is just a manifestation and statement, no. I hope, Mr. Secretary, you can work out the issues that you raised on the procurement laws that prevent you from full digitalization. You have naman our support on that. If we can dissect this further, if there's ways that we can assist, please let us know. Kasi tulad nga ng sabi ng ating chairwoman, kung bakit naman pagdating sa isabong marunong naman, ano? Pero pagdating sa ibang use, parang isa sa mga dahilan hindi marunong gumamit ng digital components. But the bigger issue nga is how will you be able to push through with this directive if maraming procurement laws that make it difficult for you. So just kindly have somebody explain that further to us so that we can support in any way. I don't know if there is a need to amend the procurement law, and if there is, then it's for you to discuss that with us.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, we will do so, Your Honor.
And finally, can I just ask? I have a few more, but you know, a lot of these things are really just two more. On the issue of abuse, children, well, minors and women. Again, kaya natin kailangan ng mas maraming social worker dahil sila naman ho ang may training and they are the ones tasked to deal with this. But may we know, Mr. Chairman, if you are happy with the agency's yung dinatnan nyo. Are you happy with how the agency is able to respond to this overwhelming number of vulnerable people? And this, as I said, would be children, women, sometimes even elderly, no, that are subjected to abuse, and in particular also sexual abuse. So domestic abuse could be physical, could be mental, but then we have this other issue on sexual abuse. Are you happy with how the agency is handling this? And if not, what do you propose that we do about it?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, I'm not happy. I'm not with what's happening right now. But we need to address this issue immediately. Marami pong problema. And my plan po, Madam Chair, Your Honor, is tama po kayo. We need to add the social workers to do this, to help out. Meron na po kami, Madam Chair, and Your Honor, inumpisahan po yung sa mga solo parent po na wala pong na economical abuse po ng mga ex nila, ng mga ex-husband, boyfriend, na hindi po nabibigyan ng sustento yung mga anak po nila. Gumawa na po tayo ng hakbang dyan, Madam Chair, Your Honor, in coordination with the Public Attorney's Office na kakasuhan po yung mga deadbeat dads na hindi po tumutulong. So, it will fall under violation po ng VAUSI through economic section. Meron din po kaming coordination po sa DILG para po naman dito po sa mga street children na we will be rescuing within the next few months o siguro or few weeks. We're just awaiting po na sa local government units yung kanila pong actions because sa amin po ito turn over ito, Madam Chair, Your Honor, ito mga rescue ng mga street childrens po. So, marami pong dapat ayusin, Madam Chair. Kailangan lang pong tutukan. So, we will be meeting with our CWC people para po matugunan itong mga problema na ito. We can come up with solutions immediately to address these issues that you have just raised, Your Honor, Madam Chair.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for that. May I know what you intend to do with the street children you will rescue?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, actually ito po, LGU po yung namamahala po sa rescue, dinadala po sa aming mga centers. Pagkatapos po, depende po sa LGU, may mga LGUs po kasi, Madam Chair, Your Honor, na yung magulang bago makuha po yung kanilang anak ay they have to perform community service. Yung iba naman po ay binibigyan po ng lecture na bang LGU. Ang plano ko po, Madam Chair, Your Honor, and then I'm already asking our Office of the Solicitor General at ang legal minds po namin sa DSWD, if we can do this, kasi paulit-ulit na lamang po, Madam Chair, Your Honor, rescuing the children, after a few months, nandiyan na naman sila. I think we really have to come up with a permanent solution. Yung permanent solution na nakikita ko po, Madam Chair, Your Honor, is yung three strikes policy, which I still have to consult again with our legal team and of course the Office of Solicitor General. Para po on the third strike po na ma-rescue po ito, ay kukunin na po ng gobyerno ho, pag-aralin yung mga bata, pakainin, para hindi na po sila bumalik sa mga lansangan. Kasi paulit-ulit na lamang po, Your Honor, ang problema, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Thank you for that,
If,
Mr.
if
Secretary. Yes.
Senator Pia, if I may, I'd like to recognize the physical presence of our minority leader, Coco Pimentel.
Thank you. It may proceed, Your Honor.
Yes,
Mr.
please
Secretary,
do so.
thank you for your response. You know what I was waiting for you to say, kasi ang tanong ko is, what will you do with those children? Ang sagot niyo, the question was, what will you do with the children that you rescue, the street children that you rescue? Your answer in a nutshell was you will coordinate with the LGUs. And then you went on to say what to do. It's a lingering problem and pag strike 3, kukunin na sila. I don't really know what strike 3 means because paano ko yung batang yung bugbog sarado? Mag-aantay pa kayo ng strike 3? Sa strike 1 pa lang, kailangan it is our duty, it is our moral duty to remove the child from a harmful situation. We do not wait for strike 3. We have laws that protects these children, Your Honor. So ingat po tayo dun sa statement na strike 3 kasi there are many instances that these children and for that matter women need to be removed immediately from this situation. And then let me finish my second point. Mr. Chairman, the answer that I was, Madam Chairman, the answer that I was expecting, because it is the solution to these problems, and I have had the opportunity to discuss this many times in DSWD hearings, is the foster care law. The foster care law I sponsored this law more than 10 years ago. And this requires the support, His Honor is correct, of the LGUs to fully implement this, but the direction and the leadership will come from the secretary or will come from DSWD. The foster care law will allow you, Your Honor, to find a temporary home for these children who need to be removed from these situations or these environments that are harmful to them. We do not have enough centers in the country to house them. And the direction has been to really place these children in home environments and not in centers or things that are like rehab centers or orphanages. So that is the answer, Madam Chairperson, Mr. Secretary. So maybe again, I will say, do you want a minute to consult with your staff on the implementation of the foster care law, or are you ready to respond to how this will be implemented to fully support the concern that is clear to me is understood by the secretary?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, let me be, I want to correct my statement earlier. Yung first strike, Madam Chair, Your Honor, is pag may physical abuse po, because nasa guidelines po yun, then wala na po, hindi na po natin aantayin yung strike 3, Your Honor, Madam Chair. So, doon sa strike 3 po policy na i-implement natin, Madam Chair, Your Honor, po kayo, hindi, wala po, we don't have enough, yung hindi po kakayanin ng centers namin. So, doon po papasok po yung foster care, Madam Chair, Your Honor. Nadadalhin po natin yung mga bata for para sa mga foster care para who will help us take care of these children na pinabayaan lang naman po, na pinapabayaan na ng kanilang mga magulang and who is in danger, their lives are in danger while they're on the streets, Your Honor, Madam Chair.
Oh, yun nga po talaga ang inaantay kong marinig sa inyo, Mr. Secretary, kasi yun naman po ang sagot doon. I don't know if your team is not on board with the full implementation of this because this is very important. So before I just ask Executive Director Janela Estrada to make a statement on the status of the implementation of our law on domestic adoption. And may I put on, well, let me say that when I ask her, the last point I want to raise before I go to the
Senator Pia, just to recognize the presence of our majority leader, the physical presence of Joel Villanueva. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So anyway, I think this is the second to the last point I will raise. I know that His Honor, the Secretary, takes very seriously the issue of support for mothers and children, no, who do not receive the support mostly from the father, but it could be the reverse, case to case basis. I would like to bring to his attention my bill, Senate Bill number 256 on spousal and child support. Kindly have your team study this, and we would be very happy to get your comment and comments and suggestions on how we can make it easier to claim spousal and child support. We know for a fact, I've been working on this issue even before I was a senator. Like His Honor, my father also had a legal talk show. Like His Honor, who used his talents to be able to help people. I know for a fact that support is very important. So please take a look at this law because this law makes the process administrative in nature and it gives new powers to DSWD so that we don't have to go through the legal process. So if you haven't seen that, then just take a look at it and then we can discuss it at another time. And finally, I would just like to ask, as I said, I will have a separate meeting with Executive Director Janela Estrada. I leave it up to her if she'd like to give us a statement on the status of the implementation of the law, because with respect to the alternative childcare, and this is the answer to the street children, yan ang solution dyan. But I leave it up to her if she wants to make a statement now or mag-uusap naman kasi talaga kami later.
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, you're recognized, Executive Director and USEC Janela.
Yes po. Just a short introduction about NACC since we're a new agency. So the National Authority for Childcare is an attached agency of the DSWD, tasked to formulate and develop policies on pre-adoption, adoption, inter-country adoption, foster care, guardianship, leading to adoption, and all other alternative childcare services. So formerly, we were the Inter-Country Adoption Board or the ICAB. Government services for alternative childcare have been streamlined and strengthened by virtue of Republic Act 11642 or the Domestic Administrative Adoption and Alternative Childcare, which was signed January just this year. So the IRR for this said law was signed just this June 28th of this year. So to date po, NACC has been operational for just about 10 months. So at present po, Madam Chair, Your Honor, we have an estimated 6,000 pending cases with the courts for petition for adoption, over 5,500 children in our child caring agencies, out of which 1,461 are tagged for adoption, 365 of which are currently being processed for issuance of the CDCLAA or the Certificate Declaring a Child Legally Available for Adoption, and 133 awaiting matching. So ito po ay para po sa domestic level pa lang. So for the inter-regional level, we have 64 cases waiting for matching. And at the inter-country level, we have 400 children, of which 165 are under older group, 81 are under special needs, and 154 under sibling group. So as we would want to prioritize domestic adoption in order to keep the children in our jurisdiction, it is critical that the documents of the child be processed and completed at the soonest possible time. Otherwise, the child's chances of being adopted decreases as the child gets older. So we have potential programs planned in an effort to alleviate this situation, but of course, we will need your support, Madam Chair. Recently, we have finalized the processing fees charged by the CPAs to standardize the process. So it is for this reason, Madam Chair, Your Honor, that NACC is requesting your consideration in accepting our proposed budget, which is significantly higher than the indicated budget under ICAM, as this proposed amount now takes into account the next phase of the transition plan of RA 11642. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Your Honor.
Madam Chair, can we get clarification? Because in as much as NACC, now headed by Executive Director Janela Estrada, takes over the ICAB function, it also takes over the domestic adoption and alternative care function under DSWD. So yung funding ba na yun ng DSWD napunta din sa inyo? Kasi yun naman ang dapat. Hindi naman walang funding ang domestic adoption and alternative care for all these years, di ba? Nandun yan sa DSWD. So, dapat ibigay yan ng DSWD sa inyo.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, let me answer that. Nasa amin pa po yung funding po niyan dahil wala pa po sila, bago pa lang po yung agency, newly created po yan, kaya wala pa po silang tao. So yung funding po ay nasa DSWD pa, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Okay, no problem with that, but they can access that funding, tama ba? Kasi the function of that funding is this function of NACC. So hindi naman pwedeng maiwan sa inyo yon tapos yung function nasa kanila unless it's still DSWD who is performing that function, because the law allows for a 3-year transition period. And for your information, Mr. Secretary, hindi mo to problema, dinatnan mo to na problema. Nung na-implement yung batas na yan, minamadali nila ang pag-create ng NAP, which is fine kasi dapat naman ma-create. But precisely, it's DSWD no less that asked for the transition period of 3 years so that there is a smooth transition and hindi maaabala yung trabaho. So, kailangan, hindi nga maabala yung trabaho, kailangan yung budget na nandyan sa DSWD magamit. Yun ho yun.
Madam Chair, nasa transition process po kami, 3-year period po yan. Of course po, definitely, we will download the funds to them para makapag-operate po sila doon sa kanila pong mga programs, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Okay, so what I need to hear, kung pwedeng at the end of this hearing sana, kasi nga kakausapin ko si ED Janela, she knows that she has my full support because gusto ko talagang ma-implement itong batas na ito. Kailangan maliwanag tayo kung bibigay niyo sa kanya yung budget, therefore hindi siya kukulangin. Kung kulang man, it's because may additional na requirement siya. Hindi dahil walang budget yung agency niya. Nasa DSWD yung budget na yon. Are we clear about this, Madam Chairwoman? I just want to be sure para hindi tayo paulit-ulit para gusto ko naman smooth lang tayo pagdating sa plenary.
Madam Chair, yes, may pag-meeting po kami after this session po with NACC pertaining to that matter. Kasi may mga request po talaga ang NACC sa amin ho. Request for additional funding ang budget po kasi pero medyo kulang. Ngayon po kasi we are assisting them by yung mga social workers po namin, yung social workers po namin ay pinapahiram po namin sa kanila adoption social workers po. So, ganun po yung nangyayari. Pero definitely, ma'am, yung funding, kahit po ako agree na medyo maliit po yung pondo para po sa NACC na hawak po namin for now, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Ang nililiwanag ko, Mr. Secretary, is hindi dapat kayo, I do not think it's correct to say na nagpapahiram lang kayo sa kanila because the law is very clear. May transition period. Accessible yan kay Executive Director Estrada. Andiyan ang tatay niya, nagbabantay kung talagang mabibigay natin ng full support dito sa agency na sponsor po tayo niyan. Ano? And I, as I have said, full support ako. But ayoko na pinagdadamot nyo ng funding and ng personnel kasi the law is very clear. I don't have to beg for it, Your Honors. Nandun na yung batas na transition. Kanilang staff yan. Staff na nila yan. Yun na ho yun. And there is just a formal migration of this staff to the agency. Hindi ho yan pahiram na maiiwan po sa inyo. May dedicated staff po yan. Can we be clear about that? Kasi sayang po energy ko eh. Kung pati yun, pinapaliwanag ko pa. And I don't want the NAP to have to beg for this, Your Honors. Baka we can recognize the father na maganda na ngiti.
Madam Chair, meron na po kami transfer na 50 personnel po sa NACC. Ongoing pa po yung transfer. Inaayos po namin yung mga plantilla for now, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Okay, and like I said, Mr. Secretary, dinatnan ko tong problema na to. Kasi the previous administration, klaro naman na may 3-year transition, minamadali. Walang problemang madaliin, pero maayos dapat. Hindi yung iiwanan yung agency na walang pera, tas para siyang nagbebeg na pahingi naman ng social worker, pahingi naman ng funding, hindi ganun. Klaro tayo na 3 years magtutulungan yan hanggang mabuo. Wala dapat change in services because we recognize na napaka-importante ng services na ino-offer ng agency na ito. Itong alternative care. Lahat ng na-abuse na bata, yung nakikita nyo, napupulot nyo sa kalye, sila ang sasalo nito. So we have to give them their full support. Hindi pwede itong mapabayaan because of bureaucracy. Do I make myself clear, Mr. Secretary?
Madam Chair, Your Honor, ma'am, I agree with you. This is a first year pa lamang po, pero let me assure the Madam Chair, Your Honor, that this transition will be finished by next year po. Everything po, including the budget and the personnel, will turn it over to the NACC. That's my guarantee, Your Honor, Madam Chair.
Okay. But again, Madam Chairperson, ang nililiwanag ko nga is DSWD nga ang humingi. Not under your leadership, Your Honor, to be clear ha, yung dati. Sila nga ang humingi ng 3 years para daw ma-ensure yung smooth transition. So whether tapusin nyo yan ng 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't care. The point is, throughout this transition period, support NACC. That's all I'm saying. Support them throughout this transition. Hindi dapat maantala, hindi dapat ma-delay, hindi dapat maabala ang pagdi-deliver nila ng service because these are for the vulnerable children who need to be taken care of, who need to immediately be placed in foster care home or whose adoption should be finalized. Okay? I think I've made my position very clear. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Your Honor, the chairperson of the committee.
Thank you very much. With that, I recognize the Senate President Pro Tempore Lauren Legarda's physical presence. And I think the next interpellator will be